I am the youngest of three boys. I have an older brother, Lauren. He's 10 years older than me, and my brother, Mark, is 15 years older than me. Growing up was actually a lot of fun having older brothers. They taught me how to play sports. They looked after me. They protected me. They encouraged me to do lots of fun things. And there was no jealousy because what's my 20-year-old brother, Mark, going to be interested in my G.I. Joes when I'm 5? Like, none of that. So it was really good. But of course, there was still the older brother dynamic. Mark loved to tease me as a kid. He would pick me up by the ears and call me Dumbo. That's probably why my ears are so huge now. And if I was watching TV, he'd burst into the room, grab the remote, and say, "I'm watching now." And we'd end up watching a lot of Star Trek, Batman 66, one of the original 5 Rocky movies, because they were always on TV. And I was a very laid-back child. I was a people pleaser. So if that's what we were watching, then fine. Let's watch Rocky 4 for the 10th time. That's okay. And so that's how it was. Mark also loved to encourage me to do things that I didn't even know I'd like to do. He would always turn to me and say, "Come on, where's your sense of adventure?" And 2 examples for that is when I was 14, he took me to Florida, convinced my parents, just the 2 of us, we're going to go to Florida and have a blast. We went to all the theme parks. We're at MGM Studios, and we've been doing a bunch of rides, and we're thinking, what could we do next? And he goes, "How about we go on the Tower of Terror?" It brings you up 13 stories and drops you down. I am terrified of heights, and the name Terror is in the ride, so I am like, nope. Next, what do you want to do instead? He's like, "Come on, where's your sense of adventure? It's going to be fun." Next thing you know, I'm sitting in the seat, bar goes over my head and stops like a foot above my legs because I don't fit properly. And we go up through the thing and go to the top, drop 13 stories down. I'm flying out of my seat. Afterwards, there's like a picture of us. You can't even see my head. It's like totally cut off. So I was like freaking out, but it actually was kind of fun. And Mark turns to me and goes, "So what did you think?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was great." He's like, "Do you want to do it again?" "No." Another time we were in a beach outside of Toronto, and we were swimming around, and we wanted to do something a little more exciting. So he said, "How about we rent a canoe?" And I was like, "Yeah, canoe, nice relaxing stroll on the water. This will be fun." We go to the shop to rent a canoe, and in the front is a speedboat. And he's like, "How about we rent the speedboat instead?" And next thing you know, I'm on the speedboat. He's gunning down up and down the water. There's no seatbelt. There's nothing to hold on to. I'm like 100 pounds. I'm afraid I'm going to fly off this boat. But after a while, I started getting used to it. And then he even let me drive the boat because I was allowed to. And he got a bit scared, and like that was kind of exciting. And thankfully, we only did it once. So those are 2 exciting times. In 1998, Mark ended up moving to Toronto because he got a job in IT. And even though he lived in another city, I mean, the positive was I got to watch whatever I wanted on TV, so that was good. But it started a tradition of me going to visit him during school winter break. So for like 2 weeks, I'd go visit him. And it was always a lot of fun because we'd just go out every night and do lots of exciting things. We would, go to the movie theater or an arcade or see his friends and all kinds of adventures. In the year 2000, when I went to visit him, for whatever reason, the theme of that trip happened to be Jackie Mason. Now, he's a comedian from like popular in the 60s, more of my parents' generation, a Jewish guy, and he would make fun of, a lot of his jokes are making fun of Jewish people, and us being Jewish, we just loved it. And we were just listening to it every day. He was downloading tracks off of Napster, because that's what you did back then. And he like burnt a CD, and we would listen to it in his car. So wherever we were going, just listening to Jackie Mason, like ad nauseum. We started like quoting parts of the routine. "Tiffany Schwartz," that's something he would say a lot. And it was just a lot of fun between the 2 of us. Now, when I went to Toronto to visit him, I would also work for my uncle who lived there. He worked in a warehouse, and I would work a few days to make some money. So our routine would be, I would get up, go to work, and after work, come home, we'd have dinner, and then we'd go on some adventure. So one day when I got up, and I'm like, "So Mark, what's in store for tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, you're going to love it." I'm like, "Ooh, what's it going to be?" "We're going to go play poker." And I'm like, "Poker? I hate poker. I'm terrible at it. I don't like gambling. I know I'm not going to have a good time. And he's like, come on, where's your sense of adventure? And that really bugged me because A, it's boring. There's nothing death-defying about that at all. And also, like, now I'm no longer a kid. I'm an adult. I was 18 at the time. And I would have liked him to just have a conversation and, like, let's talk it out. Like, I came all the way from Montreal to visit you in Toronto, and you're forcing me to do some boring poker thing you do every week. Like, let's switch it up. And he was like, no, you're going to love this. We're going to go play poker. I can't cancel my friends. So I was really bummed out. I go to work, and my uncle could see, like, I'm not in a great mood, and he's like, what's wrong? And I explain it to him, and he's like, oh my God. And at lunch, he calls up Mark and just gives him shit. And he's like, how could you do this to your brother? He's visiting you, and you're not being a nice brother. But Mark's just like, no, we're going to go play poker. I come back to his place, and he's like, we're going to go. And I'm like, okay, fine. So we get into the car. We're driving on the way to his friend's place. And the weirdest thing happens. His car starts to go crazy, but it's also like he's kind of doing it. Like, he's honking the horn, and the lights are off and on, and he's putting on the wipers and stepping on the brake. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know, something's wrong with my car. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I got to pull over. This is serious. So he pulls over in some random parking lot. And it's winter, right? So we're in the parking lot. And he's like, we better go inside. I got to use the payphone. That's the time. We should warm up in that building. So we walk into some random building in the lobby, and as we go in, I just kind of turn around and facing the parking lot through the windows. I'm just looking at it, warming up, and he goes to use the payphone or something. And I'm waiting there, and I'm kind of happy because we're not playing poker, so that's great. And I turn my head to the right, and I could see on the wall this giant, huge poster behind glass of Jackie Mason. And I was like, and it says, like, Jackie Mason in Toronto. And I'm like, holy shit, that's hilarious. I just burst out laughing, like, what a coincidence. And I'm like, hey, Mark, you'll never believe this. And I turn around, and then I realize we're in, like, this lobby. There's, like, a red rope and, like, a woman standing at this entrance. And Mark's standing there holding 2 tickets facing me. And he's like, well, are you coming or what? And I realized he orchestrated the whole thing. From before I went, he was like putting Jackie Mason in my head, and my uncle was part of it, and there was never a poker night, and it was this whole extravagant thing, and I was like freaking out. And I look at him, and I could see, we go in and watch the show, it was amazing, and I could look at him, I could see him smiling, and because he was smiling, like, it made me really happy. We had an amazing time with the show. Tiffany Schwartz, it was very funny, and it made me realize from that moment that, like, yes, Mark would make me do things that I may not have liked, and then I would enjoy them. But the best part of it was being able to do it with him. Thank you.